welcome to your real estate journey, expert tips for buyers and sellers. I'm Dolly Lopez, your realtor and broker in the state of Florida and Kentucky. And today, like every Thursday, I am joined by one of my favorite real estate attorneys, Leslie Perez. How are you, Leslie? Welcome.
Hi, happy to be here as every week to, share a little bit about what we know in the real estate industry and just help you guys, everybody connected to understand what they need to know in order to be successful in any kind of, real estate transaction in the current market as we know it, it's, changing every single day.
I know it never stops. It never stops. And Leslie, I wanted to talk to you about a unique topic today that it's highly important because I have had in the past few months, I've had several people call me about the same issue. Unfortunately, either they're separating or they are divorcing, but they have a property, um, and they have a property that they're joined in their loan and obviously on title. So, what would you suggest to do whenever a wife, a spouse, regardless if they are married, what do you suggest them to do if they are just separating and they just want to, what do they do with their property? And also wanted to know, what about if they're not married and they just want to go their separate ways? What's your suggestion around owning a property
Well,
jointly?
in either of the situation, my recommendation number one is to hire an attorney immediately. Either way, you're going to need somebody knowledgeable about how to deal with your specific situation. For example, if you are married and you're getting divorced and you own properties with your spouse, you need to hire, a family law attorney that understands the division of assets and how to ask for that in the family court where you're going to get the final judgment of divorce. And if you're not married, you need to understand that you have rights over that property, whether you live on the property or not, whether you have been with that significant other for 1 year, 1 day, 3 months, it doesn't really matter. If your name is on the title of that property, you have rights over that property, and you need to understand that an attorney is going to be able to help you express your rights, even if it's just by reaching out to the other co-owner and help them understand about your rights and how to make it better for both of you without having to go to court intervention, which is more expensive, time consuming, and it can only depreciate a little bit about the equity that you already have on the property. So regardless of the situation you're in, my very first goal would be hire the attorney that is going to help you in that situation.
Well, sometimes, Leslie, people might say, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to save this money because attorneys are extremely expensive. They are gonna get, they're not gonna give me enough equity for me to pay, or I'm not gonna get a lot of proceeds after the sale of the property because I have an attorney involved." But then again, you might know a little bit about your rights, but an attorney that understands real estate because we're talking about a real property, will definitely be able to guide you on what to do, on how to do it, and how to proceed. So
Correct.
so what about, Leslie, if one of the parties, they just don't want to sell, they just want to be rude, or they just don't care about the other person, and they just want to be mean to them, and they just don't want to sell or to keep their property for that matter?
Well,
What are
that's the typical
what's the
situation.
options?
That is the typical situation, because when you're separating, whether you're legally married or not, 99% of the times you do not want to be with each other. You do not want to be in front of each other. You do not want to talk to each other. Um, but the reality of it is it depends on whether or not you're legally married to that person. What rights do you have? Because if you are not married, then you need to understand that if that person does not agree to sell the property, then you have to sue that other person, that other owner, in court for a judicial partition. That will be your only recourse. Okay. Now, if you are legally married, it's a completely different story, because when you file your petition for divorce, then you have to make sure that you are listing that property that you co-own, or all of the properties that has been owned by the marriage, and then that will be distributed according to the court. So either way, you need to make sure that you are, legally represented, and then that your rights come up in either side of the litigation, either in family court if you're getting a divorce, or in civil court if you're not married, but you have to file for a judicial partition.
So then what happens if they're both, this couple are, they get along very well, they just grew apart, and they the father wants to leave the house to the wife because she's gonna keep the kids, and they want the house to be under, that the kids have their keep their house, but they have a really low interest rate, and they real or she doesn't qualify to refinance the property. Then what do you suggest then? Because he wants her to have the property, she's not able to qualify, she's not able um to get a loan to even pay him out on his equity, but he's still willing to do that. Is there a separate agreement? What do you suggest in those
Well, I
cases?
do suggest to at least come into an agreement in writing, whereby you're gonna, be honest about the time frame you're allowing this person to have in order to qualify for a loan. Let's say you're gonna be giving them, I don't know, 30 days, 90 days, 60 days, a year, 2 year, but at least put it into in writing, into specific terms, so that this other owner, the one that ultimately wants to keep the property, has a set deadline under which they have to find any type of loan agreement, whether it is a private, accommodation, or is a, federal loan. But either way, you're giving them notice in advance that, hey, this is it, this is the last time I'm going to be able to allow you to use my name, or allow you to use, my credit, under which you're paying right now, a mortgage with perhaps a better rate, or a better monthly payment, or a better arrangement, whatever that may be. But and if you're divorcing, in the divorce settlement agreement, it's going to have that language, or at least you need to, have an attorney that knows that and understand that there has to be a set deadline for the other spouse to find any kind of lending
Well, what happens if
arrangement.
they cannot find a lending, if they don't get approved by that time, but the name is already off the deed?
That also needs to be included, because if by that time the spouse that wants to keep the property does not want to, or hasn't been able to find how to refinance, then the property has to be sold, because you do not want to be attached to a person that you're parting ways, right? 30 years from the divorce, and then finding out that the property, or that it was rented, or that somebody had a problem, a legal problem with the property, and now your name is dragging to this problem, just because you were you wanted to be kind, or you wanted to be a nice person, and then, not thinking about the risk associated with leaving your name behind. And you do not want to find yourself in a situation where now, because mortgage payments were made on time, there's a foreclosure action that is dragging you into court, and it's going to stay, and going to be reflected in your credit score, in your credit report, that you have a foreclosure and you had nothing to do with it. Well, kind of you did, because you allow your name to stay, and you were not, paying attention as to whether or not mortgage payments were made on time. So I would not recommend to stay, or to allow the other person a set amount of time, not longer than 2 years, if at all. 2 years is, a very long time to be able to find accommodations to refinance the property, or find another way to be able to afford the house. And if you can, by that time, then it's time to let it go, and everybody can, use their half of the seller proceeds in the way they find more appropriate.
Thank you, Leslie. Once again, I really appreciate you coming out and explaining this to us because, as I said, I have had several people call me on this. Either some of them are married, some of them are not, and they still want part ways, but there is a house involved. So I hope that you guys watching this, please repost, share with your friends and family. They might need the information. Even you might know or not know, but they might need the information. So make sure you share it. You can contact Leslie at the number at the screen. She operates in the state of Florida.
Yes.
I operate in the state of Florida and Kentucky. Leslie will probably be in Kentucky soon. I always tell her that.
Hopefully.
Anyways, remember, we're here to assist you in your journey to success in this real estate world. If you have any questions or needs on this topic or any other topic related to real estate market, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. We are everywhere, so you don't miss one of our episodes. Thank you guys for tuning in to your real estate journey, expert tips for buyers and sellers. And I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.